Our proposed Great Cataraqui River Trail has been a dream in the minds of Kingstonians for over 25 years. Phil Quattrochi dreamed about it as far back as the early 1980s, but somehow there hasn't been the political will and it's always been left on the back burner. Here in Kingston, we have a most extraordinary, beautiful waterfront that is unfortunately inaccessible for a large part of it. And we think the time has come to fulfill this dream. Let's work together to make this pathway happen. Going from south to north, the first section of this trail goes from the OHIP parking lot, where we now are, to the Kingston Rowing Club via Doug Fleurer Park and the Woolen Mill. As these properties are already owned by the City of Kingston, expansion of the existing trail would be relatively straightforward. And it's a beautiful waterfront. It's fun to come and walk or cycle here and watch the ducks. The second section of the trail would go from the rowing club to north to Bell Park Fairways. And there were three problems associated with this particular section. The first is the fence to my left here. Right now the fence goes right down to the waterfront and blocks off access to the trail. And what we would really like to have happen is for a new fence to be made that still protects the sewage pumping plant, but that allows access along the waterfront. I'm now on the other side of the sewage pumping plant, and there's a similar fence going straight down to the water, blocking access to the waterfront pathway. And from here along the water, we begin to approach the entrance to the old Davis Tannery site.
This path that we're on, it goes quite about a couple of 100 meters in that direction and is almost like a jungle. This trail here is made by lots of frustrated Kingstonians who haven't had a chance to get bicycles out here. In the direction of this trail we have Bell Park. Look towards the water, you get to Bell Island. Bell Island is quite beautiful. The trees are all mature. It's a native burial site and it's sacred.
Near here, there is an ideal place where we can build a bridge to cross over to Bell Park. I'm now on the old railway track that takes off from Rideau Street and goes along right to Bell Park. So if we can't have the bridge that we would like to have going from the tannery over to Bell Park, then the alternate route would be to come along River Street, Orchard Streets, up Rideau Street, and then take the turn off here and proceed down this old railway line. I'm now coming into Bell Park from the other end of that old railway line. And in Bell Park itself, there are wonderful trails that you can walk in that already exist. Right now, I'm standing on the bridge over to Bell Island, which is a sacred native burial site. And because of that, it won't be an official part of our trail, but we're really hoping that we'll be able to have signs here or displays of some sort depicting the native culture and heritage from years past. I'm now still in Bell Park, and I'm on a section of the road that is to the west of Bell Park, and it's a maintenance road. And it goes right to a creek that we will then need to build a bridge to cross over to the waterfront pathway in front of the Village on the River apartment complex. And now I'm standing on the edge of that pathway. On the other side of these trees and on the other side of the small creek that goes through here is Bell Park. So we're really enthusiastic about the prospect of building a bridge going from Bell Park to here, because then The city owns Bell Park, the city owns this pathway, and it should be no problem extending our waterfront pathway in this direction. I'm walking north now from the Village on the River apartment complex that you can see behind me. And I'm on my way to John Counter Boulevard and the proposed third crossing. Now, if the third crossing goes through, then we would assume that our pedestrian and cycle pathway would go along as a part of it across the river and make a loop coming back to Kingston as a really nice recreational cycling and walking path. Immediately north of John Counter Boulevard is the River Park housing complex development that is just now being built. And we assume that our trail will be able to access those roads and go through it in order to get to the archaeological land and then proceed north. We have a native archaeological site here where there is a ban on any development currently because it was a traditional hunting and fishing village, and negotiations are currently taking place with the city to just determine the status of this property. Now, I have spoken with a couple of local natives who are extremely happy about the possibility of perhaps putting an interpretive center or a meeting center of some sort on this location. And again, it would be just a wonderful chance to celebrate Kingston's native culture and heritage. I'm now standing in the wetland area where we're proposing that our pathway go through. And as you can see behind me, it is a really magical, enormous wetland. The pathway that we're proposing will be a wonderful pathway for commuters coming from the north, from Kingston Mills and from districts further north who could park their cars and ride their bicycles into the downtown. And it would also be a wonderful recreational cycle and pedestrian pathway. We're really hoping that this will go through parallel to the CN railway that currently exists, but far enough from the railway to be safe. And we propose that our pathway goes under the 401 bridge and all the way up to Kingston Mills. The final section of our trail is a long section, and like the previous one, we would like to have a raised gravel berm extending the length to protect our wildlife. Nearby is the 1830 house of Thomas Burroughs, the clerk responsible for the southern section of the Rideau Canal. And another wonderful long-term possibility for our trail would be the creation of a museum in this house. The old railway bridge, over 100 years old, amazing old stone bridge that we were so happy to find, and that where our trail that comes along beside the railway will come under before it goes along this road up to the Kingston Mills Road and then home free to Kingston Mills.
Well, here we are at Kingston Mills. It'll take a lot of time, but we're going to do it, and we would like any help that we can get.